Hi, third grade. Mr. Rakestraw back with another math lesson today. Today, we'll be doing lesson 5.3. So get out your big math books and turn to page 191. So that's 191. Alrighty, if you need a quick moment to pause the video to pull up your book, that's quite alright. But we're going to get into today's lesson now. So, we're going to be using the distributive property again. Now, if we remember what the distributive property is, we're basically taking a number from a multiplication equation and breaking it up. So if we had a number, say, 6 times 7. So we have this equation of 6 times 7. That's pretty hard to figure out. But if we broke up 5 into two smaller numbers, let's say 5 and 2, because 5 plus 2 equals 7. If we break that 7 up into those two numbers, and then take 5 and 2 and times it by 6, we should find out our answer. So real quick going through this, plus it's easier to do smaller numbers. We know 6 times 5 is 30, because if we count by 5s, get to 6 fingers, we get 30. Then if we take 6 times 2, we know we're just doubling the 6, it would equal 12. So we're left with 30 plus 12, and 30 plus 12 equals 42. So now we have our answer for up here. 6 times 7 equals 42. That's how we use distributive property. Today, we're going to be using it to solve some bigger problems. And we're going to be using a grid to help us out. So, reading the problem here, the school assembly room has 5 rows of chairs, with 20 chairs in each row. If the third grade classes fill 3 rows of chairs, how many third graders are at the assembly? So, what do we need to find? We need to find how many third graders are at the assembly. So, we'll fill that in here. Third graders. What information do I need to use? Well, the information that we need to pull from this are the numbers, because we're doing math, right? But we need to figure out which numbers specifically. So, it asks us, there are blank chairs in each row. We know from up here, there are 20 chairs in each row. So we're going to write 20. The third graders fill blank rows of chairs. From our question, we know that they fill in 3 rows. So we'll put 3 right there. Now it's asking how, I gotta move this up a little bit. Now it's asking how we'll use this information. The distributive property tells me that I can break up the factor of the factor 20 to multiply. So break up right there in that blank spot. And then they show us right here how they've done it. 3 times 20 equals 3 times parentheses 10 plus blank. What two numbers added together equal 20? 10 plus 10, that's right. So we'll write 10 right there. So now we're left with 10 times parentheses 3 times parentheses 10 plus 10. Now that we have that, real quick, explain how breaking apart the factor 20 makes finding the product easier. It makes it easier because we are giving ourselves smaller numbers to work with. Smaller numbers to work with. Okay, so up here they've started drawing a diagram for us. They have 3 and 10 up here, and then 30 shaded in because that's what 3 times 10 is 30. They left a blank right here for us, and we wrote down here that 10 plus 10 equals 20, so we'll fill in 10 right up here and write 3 on the side. Since this side is exactly the same as this side, we'll just write in 30 right here. So, using this diagram, I can use the sum of the products of the smaller rectangles to find out how many third graders in the assembly. 3 times 10. We know what 3 times 10 is. Basically, all you have to do is block out the 0, see that it's 3 times 1. Anything times 1 is just that same number, and then we add 0 to the end of it. So it's 30. Same thing over here. So now we're left with 30 plus 30. What's 30 plus 30? 60. That's right. Now that we've broken this all down, and we know that 10 plus 10 equals 20, we can just add those two 10s back together to get our 20. And since we know that 3 times 10 is 30, 3 times 10 is 30, and 30 plus 30 is 60. Since we broke it down, we can just add add everything back together, and we know that 3 times 20 is 60. So, 60 third graders are in the assembly. I know that sounded a bit confusing, but all we did was break down the 20 into two smaller factors, times the 3 by those two factors, which was 10, and then added what we got from those equations. So 3 times 10 equals 30. We just added the two 30s together to get our final product to find out that 3 times 20 is 60. Alrighty, let's turn to the next page here, 192. Let me erase my board here. We're going to be doing another similar problem to the one that we just did, okay? So, Megan is watching a marching band practice. The band marches by 4 rows of people playing instruments. She counts 30 people in each row. How many people are in the band? So we know we have 4 rows, and there's 30 people in each row. So, we need to find out, what we need to find is how many people are march in the marching band. So right here, what I need to find, how many people march in the band. What information do I need to use? Well, we need to use that there are 4 rows of people and 30 people in each row. So that would leave us with 4 times 30. So, real quick, I'm just going to write 4 times 30 down here. But we need to use that we have 4 rows, and there's 30 people in each row. How will you use this information? We will use this information to draw on the diagram over here to show how we can easily use the distributive property, break this 30 up, and make this problem a whole lot easier for us. Okay? So, first thing we need to do here is over here on the diagram. Well, actually, the first thing we need to do is break up 30. We can break up 30 into 3 easy numbers. What are the 3 numbers that you think that we can break it up into? 10 plus 10 plus 10. That's right. So at the very top of this diagram, right over here, we can write 10 plus 10 plus 10. We know that there are 4 rows, so we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4. Have 4. Nope. Oh, pardon me here. Just want to double check my work. Yep. So we'll put a line at the bottom of the 4th row. Okay? So now we have our 4 rows of 10 here. Real quick, what's 4 times 10? 40, that's right. 40, 40, 40. We used the distributive property. Here, I'll draw it all out for you. So we started with 4 times 30. We used the distributive property to break it up to 4 times parentheses 10 plus 10 plus 10. We then multiply each 10, so all three of the 10s, by 4. So then we are left with 40 plus 40 plus 40. We then add up all the 40s together. 40 plus 40 is 80, and 80 plus 40 is 120. So that is our answer for 4 times 30, 120. Just moving down here on the page a little bit, the page or book asks us, how can you check to see if the answer is reasonable? We can check to see how it's reasonable by seeing that there are 4 rows with 30 people in each row. I'm sorry, I was just double checking something on my math here. Just wanted to make sure I had done this right. So, we know there are 4 rows with 30 people in each row. And we can double check this by taking 4 30s, so 30 plus 30 plus 30 plus 30, and adding it up together. 30 plus 30 is 60, 60 plus 60 is 120. That checks out because when we did the math up there with the distributive property, we found out that 4 times 30 is 120. So on the third question, explain how can you use the distributive property to help you find a product? Well, we used it to break up the big factor, so we used it to break up the 30 to use facts that you already know, addition, right? Then you can use those factors that you got to find out your total answer. So you would write, I can break apart the greater factor to use facts I know. Hopefully you got that down, and hopefully that made sense to everyone. I'm going to erase this now, and we're going to move on to the next page here, 193. So, on this one, right here on page 193, we have another problem. It says, people filled all the seats in the front section of the theater. The front section has 6 rows with 40 seats in each row. How many people in the front section of the theater? First, write the problem you need to solve. So we have our 2 factors here. We need to solve 6 times 40. Next, we need to draw and label the diagram here. They've already started it for us. They have 6 on the side here and 10 on the top. It seems they've broken the 40 up into 10s. So we need to add another 10, another 10, and another 10, and a 6 on the side here. So, 6 times 10 is 60. We have that. So we'll just add 60 here, here, and here. So, we then can find the products of the smaller rectangles. Well, they told us that 6 times 10 is 60, so we'll write that there. And then they want us to fill in the rest, so we'll just fill it in. 6 times 10 is 60. 6 times 10 is 60. 6 times 10 is 60. Now we need to find the product. Well, we have all these 60s, and now we need to add them up together. 60 plus 60 plus 60 plus 60. 60 plus 60 is 120. So then we're left with 120 plus 120. And 120 plus 120 equals 240. So that gives us our answer of that there are 240 people in the front row section of the theater. That's a lot of people, isn't it? That's a whole lot of people. Alrighty, we'll do one last thing here. Just turn to the next page, page 194. On your own, I want you to try this problem. Number 4. It says, what's the air? It says, Carnia draws this diagram to show that 8 times 30 equals 210. We need to explain what she did wrong. So, look, I'll pause the video if you need some time to look this over. Alrighty. Real quick going through this, they already have the 10s. We have the 8. 8 times 10 is 80. So I'll add in the 80s here. And then we'll do 80 plus 80 plus 80. 80 plus 80 is 160. And then 160 plus 80 is 240. That doesn't add up to what she's got. It seems that she's added an extra 30 people to her row. So she must have accidentally added another 30 people there based on the information that she got from the top. So that seems to be what the problem is. Remember, this shows to always double check your work, okay? Well, I think that's where we'll wrap it up for today. This video's already gotten a little long. So, at this point in time, you can close up your book and go to Seesaw and work on the exit ticket 5.3. I'll see you tomorrow for another math lesson. Bye!